Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moments. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Tales of Herding Gods based on novel. So let's start. The monks worked together until they finally suppressed that 9-headed peacock. However, it was still arrogant and obstinate, crying out about wanting to cause a massacre. Little Rulai walked forward and suddenly pulled open his monk robes. He took out a knife and sliced a piece of meat from the pit of his stomach and threw it to the 9-headed peacock. "You want to eat meat? Eat then." The 9-headed peacock emanated a fierce aura and opened its mouth to catch Little Rulai's flesh, swallowing it down. The other 8 heads then started shouting, "Rulai, you need to satisfy the desire of all of us. How can one piece of meat be enough?" The other 8 mouths still haven't gotten to eat and are hungry. Little Rulai then sliced off another 8 pieces of flesh and threw them over. Each of the 8 heads grabbed a piece and swallowed them down. The devil ape revealed a look of delight and said in a low voice, "Little meat guest." Little Rulai gave him a stare, and the devil ape scratched his head. Even though the 9-headed peacock had eaten the 9 pieces of meat, it couldn't digest them and started coughing. After a moment, it opened its mouth to cough up a small peacock. Then, it coughed up another one. The 9-headed peacock coughed 9 times in a row, and 9 peacocks left his stomach. They started running everywhere and stumbling around. Suddenly, they started merging with one another, transforming into a 9-headed peacock. When it sat down, the feathers on its butt spread open like a colorful fan. The 9-headed peacock looked at the small peacock on the ground, and its heart couldn't help trembling violently. Its devil nature instantly faded away, and it transformed back into a bird-headed monk. When he sat down in a lotus position, Buddha rays shone from his face as he smiled. "Only today did I learn that all lives are like me. Senior brother Rulai, thank you." "Excellent." Little Rulai closed his monk robe and said, "Senior brother Ming, sitting on the mountain has no benefits to cultivation, so bring your son down the mountain and enter the world to cultivate." The 9-headed peacock stood up and brought the little peacock down the mountain. Qin Mu saw this pair of father and son leave and shook his head with a puzzled expression. Little Rulai had sliced his flesh to feed the 9-headed peacock, so why would it cough up a small 9-headed peacock? Why was it its son? Was it the technique of creation? Or was it some other spell divine art? Xu Shenghua and Jing Yang were also at a loss. Xu Shenghua then asked in a low voice, "The technique of Little Thunderclap Monastery is different from Great Thunderclap Monastery. They have most likely absorbed some strange techniques in Great Ruins." Qin Mu nodded. There were no such strange spells in Great Thunderclap Monastery. On top of that, the monks of Little Thunderclap Monastery were mostly strange beasts who'd gained intelligence, so they naturally had extraordinary abilities. Some of the strong strange beasts even had fortuitous encounters and cultivated some strange techniques of Great Ruins. After they joined Little Thunderclap Monastery with their strange techniques, they made Little Thunderclap Monastery's techniques strange and gave it even more variation than there was in Great Thunderclap Monastery. "The 3 of you please take a seat and look at us enlightening the devil god and achieving Buddhahood through our efforts and insight." On the Golden Peak, Little Rulai invited the 3 of them to take a seat. The yellow-robed monks sat down in their seats while Little Rulai took out a golden alms bowl. He swayed it gently, and the golden alms bowl grew larger. In the center of it was a sacrificial altar with the trapped primordial spirit of a devil god. It was currently struggling and shouting, rattling the chains of Buddha rays. The devil god on the altar was blood red as though he was a sea of blood with countless damned souls lingering around him. The yellow-robed monks began to chant the scriptures loudly, and Buddha's voice reverberated as they prepared to enlighten the devil god. "Even you blood-drinking beasts dare to think of purifying me." That devil god was none other than Shaman God Kuei, and he was not injured by the Buddha voice at all. He continued struggling to break free of the chains while smiling. "When I slaughter my way out, all of you will become my food." Qin Mu's expression changed slightly, and rose to warn the monks in a hurry. "Rulai, this devil god is from the ghost race, so his soul is incomparably strong. He's the strongest evil god, so you guys have no way of enlightening him." He's borrowing your hands to purify the soul bugs in his body to break free of the seal left behind by Golden Palace's Grandmaster. The monks were all at a loss and looked at little Rulai, who had also stopped chanting. On the sacrificial altar, Shaman God Kuei turned his head around to look at Qin Mu fiercely. So it's Cult Master Qin. My useless disciple tried to worship you a few times, but he couldn't do it. You're meddling again, but this time you are truly overestimating yourself. The expression of little Rulai and the rest of the monks changed drastically, and they got up in a hurry. Shaman God Kuei, who was inside that altar, opened his mouth and spat out squeaking soul bugs. When they met the Buddha light, they dissolved into wisps of green smoke. Once they were gone, Shaman God Kuei's fierce aura instantly overflowed. Terrifying awe spread out, and the vegetation on the mountain instantly withered. All living things lost their life, and numerous demon monks that had lower cultivation collapsed on their backs, dying unnatural deaths. Little Rulai immediately pulled back the golden alms bowl and covered the sacrificial altar, trying to trap Shaman God Kuei. Junior brother Po Ying suppressed this devil god under heavenly seal pagoda. A yellow-robed monk came forward and was about to take away the golden alms bowl when Shaman God Kuei's laugh suddenly rang out. Your name is Po Ying? Take my worship. The yellow-robed monk collapsed on his back, his soul scattered. For a moment, no one dared to go forward. He, I can sense my life and death book nearby. You guys must have found and hidden it, right? Heaven is truly assisting me. Shaman God Kuei laughed loudly, and a Buddha pagoda suddenly trembled and shattered. A book flew out from it, going straight for the golden alms bowl. The expression of little Rulai and the rest of the demon monks changed drastically. They stretched out their hands to grab the book. It was an item that a monk on the mountain had found by chance. Because they didn't know what kind of treasure it was and how to use it, they had given it to the sect. Little Rulai and the rest also didn't know how to use it, just that it possessed extremely great power. Countless souls lingered around the book, so they had suppressed the book in the pagoda. Never did they expect that it was Shaman God Kuei's item and had a name of life and death book. When a monk's hand touched the life and death book, it immediately started to rot. In an instant, it turned into white bones. While that monk hurriedly pulled back his hand, the other monks realized the situation. Each of them executed divine arts to intercept the book, but no one actually managed to hold it back. The book broke through the layers of divine arts on its way to the golden alms bowl. Little Rulai lifted up the golden alms bowl while clutching a mudra in his other hand. With it, his 5 fingers were instantly like mountains formed by bolts of lightning which covered the golden alms bowl. Little Rulai planned to first kill Shaman God Kuei. Yet at that moment, life and death book flew over and little Rulai's palm began to age rapidly. Astonished, he threw the golden alms bowl away, and the life and death book chased after it. Brother Shu. Qin Mu took a step and caught up to the golden alms bowl at an extremely fast speed. In midair, he tapped with his fingers and runes instantly flew out. They were formed by the vital qi and shone brightly in the air while flickering indefinitely. At the same time, Xu Shenghua also rushed over, and his speed was no slower than that of Qin Mu. His hands moved quickly, and there was vital qi bursting and transforming into runes from his fingers as well. However, his were god writings. Even though they were the same word, their method of writing was different. Qin Mu took another step and pointed forward with the other hand. He tapped every 4 steps, and after the 4th tap, the teleportation runes strung together to form a teleportation divine art, sealing the golden alms bowl within them. The life and death book whizzed near the golden alms bowls and was swept up by the teleportation divine art which sent it 20 miles away. On the other side, Xu Shenghua's flipped his palm up, and hundreds of god writings covered the golden alms bowls. All the different writings spelled a single word, seal. That word was completely different from the words of the human race. It brought a strange power with it. After all, Xu Shenghua was the descendant of Jade Sovereign. That man was a god, so he naturally had marvelous techniques that the lower bound couldn't get. Xu Shenghua covered the golden alms bowl with nearly 100 seals, cutting off the connection between Shaman God Kuei and the life and death book. Qin Mu took out the brush from his Daotai sack and pulled out a scroll, one side of which he threw to Xu Shenghua. The young man caught it, but it was a piece of white paper. Qin Mu raised his brush, and its tip moved rapidly. He quickly painted wind and lightning, then threw the golden arms bowl inside. It then floated around in the wind and lightning. Next, Qin Mu handed the brush and ink to Xu Shenghua, who raised it to write on the painting. He wrote the seal word in God writing around the wind and lightning. Qin Mu then took out his own seal from Dao Tai Sac and stamped it at the corner of the painting. Xu Shenghua took out his personal seal too and stamped at the side. Qin Mu swept up the scroll, and the two of them let out a sigh of relief. In the distance, the devil ape had flown over and snatched the treasure book called Life and Death book back. On the golden peak, little Rulai and the other monks looked at each other in dismay. Qin Mu and Xu Shenghua's cultivation were not considered high, but their cooperation was flawless. One of them teleported Life and Death book away while the other sealed the golden arms bowl to cut off the connection. Qin Mu then raised his brush to paint while Xu Shenghua helped to spread out the scroll. The latter then sealed it, and both of them stamped their seals on it. This kind of cooperation was as though they had practiced those actions thousands of times. It was as smooth as flowing water. The one with the surname Qin, do you dare to report your real name? Shaman God Kuei asked from the painting. Qin Mu ignored him and spoke to little Rulai. Shaman God Kuei's abilities are unpredictable. As long as he knows the name, he can worship your soul away. Rulai didn't know his power, so you suffered a loss. I had planned to get rid of this old devil by going to Yin Mountain, and he even almost escaped from Rulai's suppression. We should quickly get rid of him to prevent future troubles. Getting rid of him is also huge merit. Little Rulai hesitated. Shaman God Kuei is plagued with countless damned souls. If I could enlighten them, it would definitely be supreme merit. If I just kill him, I'm afraid. Qin Mu frowned at him. Now I know that there is a difference between big and little. Little Rulai raised his eyebrows. Cult Master Qin, please return me the golden arms bowl. Old monk shall lead all the monks on the mountain to enlighten him. I don't believe he will remain that stubborn. Qin Mu handed the scroll over to him. Xu Shenghua coughed, but Qin Mu shook his head. They didn't have the ability to barge out of Little Thunderclap Monastery with the scroll. Trying to leave by force would only bring contempt upon them. Xu Shenghua could only drop it and say, Senior Brother Zhong Kong, pass me that Life and Death book and let me take a look. The devil ape gave him the book, and Xu Shenghua was slightly stunned. Life and Death book wasn't a book, but an incomparably thin piece of paper. It was strange and glossy like metal. It was extremely bright, reflecting light. Yet, what was even weirder was that Life and Death book didn't have any words or even pictures. Xu Shenghua's gaze landed on that blankness, and he could actually see people in front through the mirror-like paper. What is this weird book? Xu Shenghua's heart suddenly trembled. Behind Life and Death book was Jin Yang, and above her figure there was actually a line of words. They said Jin Yang. Xu Shenghua's hair stood on ends, and he immediately turned toward Qin Mu. Jin Yang disappeared, replaced by Qin Mu's figure, and the name that showed up wasn't Qin Mu, but Qin Fengqing. Cult Master Qin. Xu Shenghua's face became solemn. He passed the Life and Death book to Qin Mu, who soon also discovered its use. His heart trembled violently. His name wasn't the only one that Life and Death book could reveal. As long as one of the demon monks on the mountain had a name, it would be shown on the paper. Who can defend against such an item? Qin Mu's blood ran cold. The treasure showed a person's birth name, the true name. Little Thunderclap Monastery's monks were mostly demons, so they usually didn't have any names before their intelligence was awakened. But once it happened, they became monks and had to have a name. Their name in religion then resulted in their real name. What Life and Death book showed then was their name in religion. For example, when Qin Mu was young, his good friend the devil ape had no name and was only called the devil ape. Qin Mu and Hu Linger often called him Big Fella. After he joined Little Thunderclap Monastery, only then did he gain his name in religion, Zhong Kong. In the Life and Death book, the devil ape's name was Zhong Kong. Qin Mu pointed the book at Little Rulai, and he also had his name in religion. It was Yuan Ding. With this treasure, won't Shaman God Kuei be able to kill whoever he wants to kill? Not to say Shaman God Kuei, even that scoundrel Pan Gongso would become invincible. Qin Mu's heart shivered, and he shone the life and death book on the dragon Qilin. On the paper, 2 words above him, Long Pai. Fatty Dragon actually has a name. Qin Mu was astonished. The dragon Qilin had been picked up by Patriarch in great ruins after he had starved for many days. Because Patriarch gave him something to eat, he clung to Patriarch. Yet the dragon Qilin actually had a name as well. Qin Mu didn't know if it was Patriarch or his mother who had given it to him. This item has to be destroyed. Qin Mu tried to tear it apart without a word, but he couldn't do it. Xu Shenghua went up and the 2 of them tugged onto the life and death book, but they still couldn't tear it apart. "What are you 2 doing?" the yellow-eyebrowed monk immediately shouted out. Qin Mu took out his sword pellet and pulled Carefree Sword out. Yet even Carefree Sword couldn't harm the treasure book. A string of concentrated runes appeared above the book and blocked the blade. Those runes were extremely strange, and Qin Mu barely took a short glance before they disappeared. They looked like Yudu's writing. Could this treasure be from Yudu? His scalp crawled. Carefree Sword was the treasure of his father, Jin Hanjin. How powerful was he? Even Saturn Sovereign was severely injured by him, but his sword actually couldn't harm life and death book. This meant that it was at the least a treasure of gods and devils that was on the same level as Carefree Sword. It might even be higher. In that case, it also said that the cultivation of Shaman God Kuei was on par with that of Qin Hanjin or even surpassed it. His abilities were above even Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor, this new god. The yellow-eyebrowed monk went forward and stretched his hand to grab the life and death book. "Cult Master Qin, this treasure is the treasure of our little Thunderclap monastery, so please return it to us." Qin Mu swept up the life and death book and stuffed it into his Daotai sack, secretly throwing it into the true dragon's nest. He smiled and said, "Little Rulai, when you try to enlighten Shaman God Kuei, aren't you afraid that he will call for this life and death book again? It's best if you leave it with me for now." Little Rulai took a deep look at him and called the yellow-eyebrowed monk back. "Let Cult Master Qin keep it for a few days. Once we enlighten this devil god, we will achieve supreme merit and transcend this realm. There won't be any birth, growing old, or dying, we will become Buddhas. An important matter is at hand, so fellow junior brothers, follow me to enlighten senior brother." "Excellent," all of the monks said in unison. Little Rulai and the monks fetched all kinds of magic artifacts and hung them up. They first fixed Qin Mu's painting in place before laying down layers of formations to block Shaman God Kuei's senses. They then started to chant to enlighten him. Xu Shenghua's gaze flickered, and he said in a low voice, "Cult Master Qin, should we leave?" Qin Mu shook his head. "I can't leave. If Shaman God Kuei is not enlightened, I won't be at ease." The devil ape nodded, dead ease. Qin Mu smiled. "Big fella is right. However, little Rulai is insistent on enlightening him, but from what I see, it's going to be very difficult." Xu Shenghua rose and said to Jing Yang, "Cult Master worries for the world, but we are floating clouds. There's no need for us to remain here." Jing Yang nodded, and the 2 of them walked down the mountain. "I cultivated the 18th sword form while you merged 6 directions and 7 stars divine treasure into one. Don't you want to learn my sword move?" "I want to learn how you merged 7 stars and 6 directions into one," Qin Mu said leisurely. Xu Shenghua stopped and turned his head back with a smile. "I thought Cult Master won't mention this since you are arrogant and conceited, not caring about fame and fortune. If you want to learn, I'll teach you." Qin Mu smiled at him. "Don't you want to learn my 18th sword form?" "I don't," Xu Shenghua said bluntly. "My sword skills aren't that high level and my main offense isn't based on them." Qin Mu's face instantly turned black. "Once I learned Cult Master's Primordial Spirit Guide, I was greatly influenced. Primordial Spirit Guide is a marvelous technique that cannot be measured. It opens up numerous possibilities for the future." Xu Shenghua, Qin Mu, the devil ape, and the rest sat in a temple on the Golden Peak and talked about primordial spirit guide which Qin Mu and Ling Yuxiu had founded. Even this visitor from high heavens couldn't help smiling in exultation at it. He was in high spirits and clapped his hands in admiration. Primordial spirit guide pushed what can be done in 7 stars realm forward to 6 directions realm. In regards to how to cultivate and unleash the power of the primordial spirit in 6 direction realm, it's still a blank piece of paper. There are many things that could be done inside, for example, creating all kinds of primordial spirit divine arts. Every kind of divine art created is a huge advancement in the paths, skills, and divine arts. This would then affect all of the realms beyond, like celestial being, life and death, and divine bridge. This is what I admire the most in Cult Master. After saying that, even he couldn't help looking over with respect. Cult Master and Princess Xiao's primordial spirit guide could make them teachers of the whole world. He definitely lives up to his reputation as human emperor. I revere you, yet at the same time, I'm frightened. You and I are overlord bodies, but you already achieved something like that, so what must I do to not fall behind you? Xu Shenghua smiled and said leisurely. Your primordial spirit guide has created countless possibilities for the paths, skills, and divine art, so I chose the biggest challenge, and it was to merge 7 stars realms and 6 directions realm. Merging 2 realms together involves too many things, it's equivalent to destroying a realm. How did you do it? Qin Mu asked solemnly. There are a total of 7 treasures, spirit embryo, 5 elements, 6 directions, 7 stars, celestial being, life and death, and divine bridge. Among them, spirit embryo awakens the spirituality, allowing spirit embryo to take shape as the core for opening up the heaven and earth. When the spirit embryo is set on the spirit platform as the core, 5 elements are born. Metal, wood, water, fire, earth, these 5 stars orbit around the spirit platform. Then, when it gives rise to land, there will be north, south, east, west, up, and down, these 6 directions. Once they come into existence, sun and moon is born, which increases the number of stars to 7. With 7 stars and the spirit embryo complete, they become a celestial being. The primordial spirit of a celestial being is strong enough to connect life and death. Death is Yudu under the primordial spirit's feet, hidden under the land of the spirit platform. When Yudu is formed, that's life and death. Life is then the divine bridge which stretches above the primordial spirit and leads to the celestial palaces. After entering them, a person will leave the control of Yudu and no longer have a limited lifespan. While Xu Shenghua explained the marvel of the 7 great realms, Qin Mu nodded repeatedly. His understanding of the realms that Xu Shenghua had explained was pretty similar. However, there was a slight difference on 7 stars realm. The sun and moon in Qin Mu's divine treasure were long formed, before 7 stars realm. This point had seemed different from ordinary cultivation, but Qin Mu treated it as a unique point of the overlord body and didn't put it to heart. In that case, how did you merge 6 directions and 7 stars into one? He asked sincerely. Xu Shenghua smiled and said, reverse deduction. Qin Mu's body trembled and he let out a shaky breath. Smart. I imagined myself standing at the southern heavenly gates of the celestial palaces, overlooking the 7 great realms. From that height, the 7 great realms were ultimately just one, Xu Shenghua said leisurely. 7 great divine treasures is actually only one divine treasure separated into 7. If a person was strong enough, they could turn 7 divine treasures into one, opening all just by opening one and enter the celestial palaces directly. However, no one can possess that terrifying power when they are born. But the primordial spirit guide that Cult Master and Princess Xiao founded makes it possible for 7 stars and 6 directions to become one divine treasure. It's easy to say but hard to execute. Between different divine treasures lies a realm and a barrier separating them. Merging the divine treasures means to merge the realms and break the barrier. How did you manage to break the barrier between the 2 divine treasures and make them into one? Qin Mu said. To merge the 2 great divine treasures into one and break the barrier in advance, one has to mainly rely on their primordial spirit to forcefully merge the 2 great divine treasures into one. For this, I founded 7 stars 6 directions primordial spirit technique on the foundation of Cult Master's primordial spirit guide. He executed his primordial spirit technique, and a violent aura instantly rushed into the sky. His vital qi formed visions. A lotus was born under Xu Shenghua's feet, and his spirit embryo appeared inside it. The lotus was the spirit platform. It swirled and bloomed, transforming into a lotus land in an instant. At the same time, his 5 elements flew out, and the 5 stars orbited around the lotus land. 5 gods stood on the 5 stars, and they all had different kinds of faces. The qi of yin and yang then transformed into sun and moon to soar into the sky. When they joined the 5 elements, there were 7 stars. The spirit embryo became larger and larger while standing upright on the lotus land. Multicolored sunlight shone from the lotus and connected 5 elements with 7 stars. Qin Mu instantly felt his primordial spirit standing upright between the heaven and earth. With it as the hub, vital qi moved along bizarre trajectories, and the barrier between the divine treasures could no longer be seen. What Xu Shenghua had opened was the connection between heaven and earth. 7 stars and 6 directions were 2 separate great divine treasures, but 7 stars 6 directions primordial spirit technique connected the heaven and earth and obliterated the barrier between the heaven and earth completely. Qin Mu rose, and his vital qi raged as he shouted, "Brother Xu, let me see to which step your cultivation has risen after merging the 2 great realms." He executed Thunderclap 8 strikes his spring thunder on the lonely East Sea and punched. Furious sea waves surged while spring thunder exploded and rang throughout the mountain range. Xu Shenghua raised his hand to receive his move, and both of their bodies shook. Qin Mu took a step back with a look of astonishment. The density of Xu Shenghua's vital qi had been a line lower than his, but after merging the 2 great realms, he was actually a line higher than him. The merger of the 2 great realms was indeed extraordinary. Xu Shenghua dispersed the vision and explained the technique he had founded. Qin Mu's expression changed. Xu Shenghua's 7 stars 6 directions primordial spirit technique mainly relied on the spirit embryo. Its fusion with the soul would transform it into the primordial spirit. The primordial spirit would then become the center of the 4 great divine treasures and connect the hub of 7 stars and 6 directions, mobilizing all of the energy in the 4 great divine treasures. It would refine the barrier between the heaven and earth, merging the 2 realms into one. In that case, all of the barriers between the divine treasures can be broken. When it comes to divine bridge divine treasure, the 7 great divine treasures would become one. Qin Mu was in a daze. His primordial spirit guide was a start, and Xu Shenghua's 7 stars 6 directions primordial spirit technique was taking 2 to 3 steps from that point. What lay before them were countless possibilities, for 7 stars and 6 directions were the only ones who could merge. Even the barrier between spirit embryo and 5 elements could be removed. Celestial being, life and death, divine bridge, the barriers of these realms could also all be removed. If one cultivated to divine bridge realm and fused celestial being realm to create access to life and death, the 7 great divine treasures would all become one. There would no longer be any difference in realm. If that was the case, it would definitely lead to a huge reform. The abilities of all the divine arts practitioners in the world would rise by a lot. And the change brought by the rise of the divine arts practitioners' abilities would also be extraordinary. Wanting to break all of the barriers, that would probably take dozens or even a couple hundred years of hard work. However, now we're seeing the dawn. Brother Xu, you have done a remarkable deed, Qin Mu muttered. If it wasn't for Cult Master's primordial spirit guide, I wouldn't have been able to take this step. Cult Master, it was you and Princess Xiao who did a remarkable deed, Xu Shenghua said humbly. Qin Mu laughed loudly. Xu Shenghua had no idea that the reason he was able to comprehend primordial spirit guide was mainly because of the encounter on the pleasure boat. When the 2 of them had met for the first time, they had clashed to test the other. Only with his mind agitated from the encounter was Qin Mu able to cultivate the primordial spirit with Ling Yuxiu. Based on that, Xu Shenghua had some indirect credit in primordial spirit guide founding. Suddenly, rumblings of thunder came from their side as the devil ape's body expanded. He couldn't help revealing his true form, changing into a pitch-black violent ape that was as big as a small mountain. After Xu Shenghua explained 7 stars 6 directions primordial spirit technique, the devil ape had executed his primordial spirit and operated it according to the technique. Everyone jumped in shock and moved back, watching as the primordial spirit of the devil ape rumbled. Xu Shenghua's technique was actually operated smoothly by him, and he was planning to merge 6 directions and 7 stars. Xu Shenghua's heart trembled, and he took a look at Qin Mu. Cult Master, isn't the aptitude of senior brother Zhong Kong a little too good? Qin Mu suppressed the astonishment in his heart and raised his head to look at the abnormally huge body of the devil ape. His thoughts are without any impurities. In the past, he had also learned Thunderclap 8 strikes of Great Thunderclap Monastery much faster than me. Because his thoughts are focused, his advancement in cultivation is extremely fast and fierce. Could he be Overlord Body as well? Xu Shenghua asked suspiciously. The physique of the devil ape was naturally strong, and his cultivation was dense. When executing the primordial spirit, he was brave and fierce as well as incomparably overbearing. He had received old Rulai's teachings, who taught him Rulai's Mahayana scriptures. He then followed little Rulai to cultivate. He had received the teachings from the 2 supreme masters of Buddhism, so the foundation of his cultivation was very deep. However, even though his thoughts were pure, he was much inferior in breaking new ground compared to Qin Mu and Xu Shenghua. Qin Mu's thoughts were complicated, but he could usually comprehend new things by analogy and found new cultivation methods. Xu Shenghua's thoughts were much more conforming, but what he learned was more heterogeneous. His unyielding spirit was also forced out by Qin Mu, so he was able to found his primordial spirit technique on Qin Mu's foundation. As for the devil ape, he didn't have this kind of comprehension, but he learned other people's techniques extremely fast. The 3 of them cultivated in 3 different kinds of way. The devil ape only learned and didn't seek to understand. As long as he could cultivate, he would immediately cultivate. Xu Shenghua was fusion, seeking to understand and gain more understanding. Qin Mu, on the other hand, was a pathmaker. When there was no path ahead, he would open up one. Qin Mu also has his weak points. After opening a path, he would usually go and do other things instead of continuing on that path. Because of that, the one who founded 7 stars 6 directions primordial spirit technique was Xu Shenghua and not him. The techniques and divine arts that Qin Mu and Xu Shenghua founded, the devil ape was, however, the fastest to learn. Before Qin Mu could even start to cultivate the primordial spirit technique, Zhong Kong was already starting to break the barrier of the realms. Qin Mu immediately abandoned other thoughts and focused on cultivating the primordial spirit technique, striving to break the barrier between 6 directions and 7 stars realm. 2 days later, he finally broke through, and only then did he open his eyes. He saw Xu Shenghua and the devil ape fighting among the mountains with abnormal fierceness. Beside them, there were demon monks of all sizes standing in a circle and cheering. Qin Mu was about to rush over when he heard a familiar voice coming from the bottom of the mountain. "Little Thunderclap Monastery, what big guts you've got! How dare you steal the primordial spirit of my master? Listen up, bald donkeys on the mountain, hand the primordial spirit of my master over or I will wipe out your whole sect." Qin Mu looked down and saw Pan Gong So walking up the mountain with his legs bent backward. His half-crooked and half-squatting movement was extremely eye-catching when he walked. "This brat, didn't I chop off just one of his legs? Why is his other leg changed as well?" Qin Mu was overjoyed to see him and sent his sword flying without any warning. It whizzed past dozens of miles toward its target. Pan Gong So had just attached his buck's legs, so he couldn't react in time. When he saw the sword light and wanted to avoid, it was already too late. After sprinting 2 steps, he saw that the sword light had already come to his front from the back. He hurriedly looked back and saw his 2 bucks' legs sprinting frantically behind him. "You mother-f***er. Pan Gong So's body fell to the ground and became a huge chunk shorter. He raised his head to shout angrily, "Qin brat, you and I cannot exist together. It's a small world." Qin Mu called his sword back where he stood on the golden peak with his arms on his waist. He laughed loudly and said, "Grandmaster is really courteous, even bringing 2 buck legs to treat me. How can little brother bear to reject you? I can only accept it." At that moment, a youth carrying a chest walked over from the mountain gate and raised his head to look at Qin Mu at the golden peak. There was a smile on his pure face. Great divine physician Qin, it really is a small world. We meet again. This video will end here.